Welcome everybody back to Boost Emotion, guys. And today, yes, we have Mike from Drop Bear LLC. We're going to be talking about everything Infinity VQ VR related, but we're really going to be talking about 1,000 horsepower Q50s. So if you guys are tapping in, you already know what to do. If you're part of the Boost Emotion family, which means you subscribe, that means you already hit the like button. So I would really appreciate if you guys hit that like button to show the support to the channel. Really appreciate it. And if you are new to the Boost Emotion channel, you already know what to do. Definitely watch the video. And if you find it to be informative, hit the subscribe button with the bell notification. But otherwise than that, I want to bring Mike up to the stage. Shout out to Mike from Drop LLC. He's making some of the components for the Q50, Q60 platform VR30. But also, he knows a lot of information about the BQ Life also. So, welcome, Mike. Definitely let everyone know what you do, what you're about, and how you help out the community.
Yeah, my name is Mike Mixon. I'm the owner and CEO of Drop Bear LLC. So we basically are a automotive design as well as manufacturing company. So we not only do we private label make our own products, but we also private label for other companies. Our main focus is really on high-end products for the platforms that we support. Right now, our primary focus is on the Nissan and Infiniti community. A lot of people will actually recognize me from my build in the VQ world. The Project White Dragon, making over 1,000 horsepower. In multiple iterations we've done with that car. It's been in SEMA, it's been Super Street Magazine and Pass Mag. So it's been around the block and done its stuff, and now we're just living with the car and enjoying it, and it's probably up for sale here soon. So if anyone's looking for a high-end performance car with all the top-end parts, then yeah,
BQ, right? It's not VR yet.
It's got a stroker racing motor in it, about $32,000 motor. So it is very much a racing motor, very high-end, and it freaking screams like a banshee.
Takes a beating.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So for anyone who's watching, once again, this is Mike from Drop LLC. He knows a lot of information about the VQ, but I know a lot of you guys follow the channel because of the VR. So first thing, Drop LLC. Mike, I already know you came up with some components and parts for the VR. Let the guys know the parts and pretty much why you think your parts are better than the ones on the market.
So we mainly focus on hard parts for the VR community. So one of the things you'll find is we have our transmission braces or mounts. So our solid mounts for the transmission, as you've reviewed, they do the best they can possibly do to get that power to the ground. There is some NVH associated to that, and for some that for daily driving, it may not be suited for them, but we do have our anti-NVH kit, which does help soften things a little bit. Additionally to that, we have our all-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive oil pans, billet oil pans, which are absolutely amazing. The windage tray that we have designed in there allows for high G acceleration, braking, as well as...
So just remember, I'm just jumping in. So you're only the company that offers an upgraded oil pan. And also, when I remember, it does add about another, half a quart or a quart of oil capacity to the VR trend?
Yeah, so one of the great things...
With a baffle system, too.
Yeah, with a passive baffle system, that's what the windage tray is. It allows us to retain the oil around the pickup better than the factory one. The factory one is only like maybe a half-inch tall. So all that oil just flows right to the top of it and causes oil starvation.
So briefly, for the guys who are watching, just in case he didn't get detailed into it, remember our cars launch really hard. Even though I have a C63, the oil pan, when you launch it, the oil just goes to the back, and that creates oil starvation. And once oil pressure drops, the motor goes. So because you guys launched so hard, he developed an oil pan that sits a lot lower, a little bit lower, but it has more oil capacity, which means more oil is more better, but also has a baffling system which keeps that oil from pushing to the back of the oil pan so that you don't have oil starvation, which means you're not losing your motor. This is the only company that provides this. But continue, Mike. What other components do you make for the platform?
So, we also have partnerships with XDI for our custom spec injector. So we now have, we've sunsetted and discontinued the 2000cc injectors, but we do now have a plug and play 1900cc injector available on the market. So it's
Really?
yeah,
I didn't even know
unplugged.
that.
Yeah, so that's just recent over the last couple of weeks. We haven't really announced it yet. We were trying to get our website up and going so that we can actually get that launched on the website. But yeah, so plug and play, so no extra wiring harnesses, nothing like that. So it's literally just unplug your old ones, plug your new ones in.
So for the people that is watching, right? Because this is for the VR community, right? So do
Mhm.
you think it's necessary to do an upgraded injector on stock turbos or only upgraded turbos?
Oh, stock turbos, upgraded turbos. The way I look at it is a supporting mod.
Mhm,
So you're adding the capacity for your engine to be able to make power. A lot of people often look at of how much power can the engine itself make
mhm,
without looking at what is feeding that engine. And really, what it comes down to is how much fuel can you throw at, how much air can you throw at it for that combustion chamber, and the efficiency of that engine will determine with the amount of fuel and air how much power it can actually make.
okay. Do you think that not only yours, but other companies' upgraded injector will be a lot more reliable than stock injectors?
Oh yeah, by far, by far.
Okay, okay. And in your experience, do you still think the injector issue is just mainly the injector itself? Because it's common for the VR platform.
Mhm.
Usually, when you start upgrading to a high pressure fuel pump, for some strange reason, we have some kind of contamination or blockage in the injector. Do you think this still might be a thing, or as AMS has stated, replace it with newer fuel rails? Do you think that's also something you would require too?
I think what they have stated is kind of best practice or for safety reasons is saying, hey, let's not put it up for risk. Uh,
Hmm.
just go ahead and replace it with brand new ones in case there is some sort of degradation or some contamination within the rails. We have seen some rails that have shown degradation of the rail,
Hmm.
but I'm not sure if that is from a manufacturing perspective or if it was something that caused basically the ports go oblong, some really weird anomalies in regards to the porting going
Hmm.
to the injectors, which would lead to premature erosion, which
Mm.
would then cause particles to get lodged within the
Within the
injector,
injector, and it
getting it
sticks
stuck
open or sticks.
closed or stuck open. So you have
Okay.
those two options there.
Okay. Okay, so we already tapped in with the oil pan, the transmission brace. Do you guys make you said do you guys make the diff brace also or no?
No, we haven't made a differentiation. We had a couple designs for it, but at
Okay.
the time it was just we didn't see a huge need for it,
Hmm.
especially with other people already out there. We just didn't want to necessarily do a Me Too product.
Okay.
So
Okay, okay. So then we went to that. So what other components have you guys made, for the platform? Just, this is for the people who
yeah,
are here. Some people are new with the channel. So,
yeah. So we have everything from fuel pumps to the injector. So the fuel pumps we have kind of a unique portfolio. So a lot of brands offer only two options. They have the regular bore and then they have their big bore. So we have three. So we have the regular bore, which is competitive to what's out on the market. Then
Mhm,
we have our mid tier, which is our Evo pump. So we have 35 series, our Evo pump, and then the 65 series.
mhm,
The Evo pump hosts a bunch of efficiencies and new technologies that what currently is out there on the small, the regular bore pumps don't
mhm,
have. So often I try to push people to the Evo pump because for the price point, it's a no brainer. Like spend the extra $100 and get something that's going to give you an extra like 15% capacity.
Would you also be able to use this Evo pump or mid-tier pump with, let's say, RT turbo or pure turbo on E85 or
Oh
no?
yeah, oh yeah. We have found that the Evo pump is doing really good around the 600-700 wheel horsepower range
Mhm,
on the VR platform. Is showcasing to be really potent there.
mhm,
Once you start going 700 and above, we try to push people to the big bore pump, especially when you're starting to throw ethanol in it. What most people don't understand is ethanol, depending on your ethanol percentage, is going to require about 30% more fuel based off of the weight of the fuel. It's a much lighter fuel. So its weight is less than regular gasoline. So it requires more fuel to actually do the same work.
Okay. So now that we offer the fueling, what are the because we're trying to move our way to
Right.
these turbos, but we're talking about fueling. What about cooling?
Yeah, so we also have our intercoolers. So our billet intercoolers have been absolutely phenomenal. We have run them in really adverse conditions, and it has shown a change in. So let me back up a little bit. In a normal stock intercooler and stock heat exchanger situation, what we find is the cooling system to the IATs is asynchronous. So basically, your IATs go up, then your coolant temperature goes up. Your coolant temperature stays up. Your IATs have a hard time dropping down, and so you get heat soak. And so what we've done with the efficiency of our core, the higher flow rate of both the coolant as well as the higher flow rate of the air, we've allowed it to be synchronous. So as the coolant level rises, the temperatures rise normally, but the coolant drops drastically, and that IAT follows suit.
So it has a quicker recovery.
So very fast recovery, so less prone to heat soak, and it has given people the opportunity. A lot of people try to say, "Hey, how much horsepower is this going to give me?" And I often tell people, don't think of it that way. A tuner is going to be able to take advantage of those IATs to be able to make you more horsepower. And again, goes to that point that we were talking about earlier: more fuel, more air, colder air, denser air, the more power you can make. And so that's one of the things that we try to strive for, is try to educate people on that, to say, don't look at it as how much horsepower does this give me? Because in reality, it could be a lot of horsepower, it could not be, but it could be more consistent horsepower over a longer period of time, especially if you're in higher elevation. It makes a huge deal in higher elevation.
Okay. So talking about consistency when it comes to charger temp and coolant. So now you know that you were the first company that was out with the upgraded air to water intercoolers, but you didn't get as much screenplay. But then now AMS has their version and Mishimoto came out with theirs. So in your own, testing and everything, I mean, you got to sell the guys on it. So what is your opinion on the market compared to yours?
So one of our things is that we try to build high quality products. So everything we do is CNC, 5-axis CNC'd or 3-axis CNC'd. So you're getting a billet product. You're not getting a casting. So it's a finer finish. It's a tighter tolerance. We pressure test everything to a safety factor of 5 or 6, just so that it ensures that your system will be able to handle whatever we throw at it. So our biggest thing is quality and performance. Our cores, we use Bell cores, which is like some of the highest end cores you can throw on the market. I can't speak for Mishimoto. I've had experiences with their radiators in the past. Not necessarily the best product out there, but it was a decent product. But our thing is to be on the high-end quality side, high-end performance side. So we also offer modularity. So all of ours come with AN fittings. So an AN port, so that you can actually customize it however you want. We will be offering our line kits again with the intercoolers, but we also have integrated blow-off valve ports. Now I know that's a point of contention, but once we start getting into these bigger turbos, that's going to come into play, because now we can recirculate that air to the pre-turbo, and that will actually help with spool response of those turbos. So that's something that we've been kind of building our intercoolers for that. A lot of our products are transmission mounts. Everything has been built to support big power.
So you guys are being more than proactive than reactive, honestly.
Yeah.
All right, I love this. But you still haven't included certain things, such as that your air to water intercoolers are triple pass.
Yeah. So some people want to go quad pass, but triple pass seemed to be more than enough for what we needed. And then we also have our triple pass heat exchanger that is actually going on to The first production unit is going on a customer car right now. So that's going with the big turbo kit, our intercoolers, recirculating bypass valves, and our heat exchanger.
All right, cool.
As well as all
Now,
our
we do have our first question, because I do want to save some of the questions to the end, but as we go, I think we should try to highlight a couple of things. This person, Joe, said, "Hey, what is the price point of your intercoolers?" I'm assuming the air to water intercoolers. Some people don't
Yes,
know.
but it kind of depends. We start the cores out at $18.95. That's mainly to give people the option to be able to build it however they want. We do offer couplers as well as line kits. Our full cores, lines, fittings, everything is right now sitting around $24.95, I think, is, if I recall correctly. Yeah, it's expensive. But again, that's also including blow-off valves too.
Yes.
So that includes Turbo Smart 38 millimeter blow-off valves. So people understand, those blow-off valves are good to about 800 brake horsepower, so about 600 wheel horsepower each. So with again, all of this stuff has been designed and built for big turbos in mind, so that when you do eventually go big turbo, you don't have to change any more components on your car. You're already built for the highest horsepower that we can do in a stock location. We may, and I'm hinting at this, may do a remote location turbo kit, but that'll probably be one-offs or custom projects for that.
So for the people that's watching, because I know I've already made a video talking about Mishimoto and AMS. We still don't know if it's a triple pass or dual pass when it comes to the air to water intercoolers, but Mishimoto's already has stated so it's a single pass. So they're just adding a little bit more cooling capacity and putting their Mishimoto stamp on it. So you're spending, I think the price point was about $1,300 for this single pass. Where I already told you guys, I think this is a modification you could skip if it's from Mishimoto, because it doesn't make any sense. You can go with an upgraded heat exchanger or a fender tank just to add more coolant. For them to spend that much money just on a air to water intercooler, this wouldn't make any sense. But I did say Drop Bear LLC does provide a triple pass, which does give you more efficiency and more coolant to the system, and it's done really good and well. So that's just my opinion. I'm not getting kickbacks for this. I just look at the technical side of it and seeing what they're bringing to the market. So that's why I shout out Drop Bear LLC in my videos.
Yeah, our biggest thing is, how do you fight that heat soak? You know, our first thing we tell people, and I will be the one to sit there and say, hey, you know, you may not need to buy my product. Your goals may not require you to need my product. And I will be the first one to unsell you my product. And that is very rare in this industry, because everybody wants to make money off the customers. I personally will say, hey, you know, you're only shooting for 600-700 horsepower. You really don't need it.
Yeah.
You could get by with a heat exchanger, like you said, with the coolant, the extra coolant capacity, and the stock intercoolers. They work really great. The heat exchangers usually are a good band-aid to that, and it'll allow people to get by for a good while. It's when you start getting to that 700 plus, that's when it starts becoming very apparent that you need to be able to start going from a band-aid to actual fix.
First thing, we got another question on the screen. Shout out to Zilla Full Boost. If you already don't follow his channel, shout out to the brother. I'm also gonna get him on this live too. Not this one, but he's gonna have his own live talking about it. But his question is, ask him about port injection manifolds. From briefly before he answers it, from what I remember, Drop LLC does make a kit to add methane, right? To add meth.
We had direct port meth injection, and that's been kind of one of those things of people need to follow that same mentality. It's not a matter of it's going to give you this much X horsepower. We've seen people get 25 horsepower. We've seen people get 50 wheel horsepower. There's a lot of factors that go into that to determine how much power you're going to make, and it's really coming down to tuning to that as well. As far as what Zilla's asking for, he's wanting that full fuel port injection.
Yeah, for fuel purposes.
We do have a design for that. One of the things we're trying to do is we're trying to push the DI system as far as it can go. One thing that I'll tell people, the reason why we haven't jumped on that is because we're trying to keep the system simple. Once you start adding in extra electronics, extra controlling measures, yes, you can do it. and some of them are pretty reliable,
Mm.
but it's not the same thing as a factory ECU. And so what you end up doing is you end up, hijacking and adding in addition to that. So your ECU is expecting to see certain values, and if
Mm.
that controller messes up and you have an issue, you detonate your motor, and then the first person someone's going to look at is me, because I
Mm.
supplied the controller and I supplied the manifold, and they're like, you blew my motor. So at this point in time, we're going to sit on that DI system, try to push it and break it, get it as far as it'll go.
Mm.
And then at that point, we'll start looking at port injection.
Mm.
Now, with that being said, we are working with RJ Manufacturing on their GTR conversion. Uh,
Mm.
so that is something that we had worked on. That we'd worked with them with the port injection manifold, and so we're working with them on the GTR intake manifold conversion, which great guys over there. So there will be possibilities if someone wants to do it.
Mm.
If you decide to pay for that GTR intake plenum with a third rail, you may
Mm.
be able to add port injection. So
Oof.
but you're going to be in for some serious money. Luckily, the way we've designed the lower intake plenum, it's the same height as the factory one. It's a lot smaller piece of billet, so we're able to actually reduce the cost significantly because our
Really?
machine time is much lower than
Okay.
our VQ GTR conversion. That one was a much taller, lower intake plenum, much more 5-axis. So we're trying to simplify the design, no rails, no ports on it, just really just make something
Just
really,
an adapter, basically. That's it.
yeah. And so the factory GTR manifold can be ported for port injection if someone felt like doing it. You also have the Goretti intake manifold. You got AMS. You've got Boost Logic. You've got
Yeah, you have a lot of aftermarket options.
yeah, you have plenty of market options on there. Now, I will say this: if you start going into those aftermarket options, you are going to start running into some fitment issues in regards to your oil cap and your
Mm.
oil fill neck. Now, we have resolved that on mine, because my VQ, because I have a Goretti GTR intake manifold, and that thing
Mm.
is freaking massive and weighs like 20 something pounds. So yeah, it's great, but it literally covers the top of my
It's a heavy piece.
yeah, it covers the top of my oil cap, and we actually had to shave my oil cap all the way down to the actual surface and make a new mounting location.
That's crazy. Now, I do have a question here from David. I want to show him some love. Well, first thing, Marcus did ask, do you need blower valves? If you want to answer this in a short response, let us know. Very short
Yeah.
response.
So no, they come in and said no, you don't need them. And but when you start looking at bigger turbos with recirculation, it becomes a little bit more helpful.
Okay. All right. Also, Marcus did ask, so 1895 for air to water 3-pass intercoolers and comes with everything needed to run for pure turbos, correct? I remember you said yes, but
That's
just
for the cores only. Once you start adding the line kits and stuff like that, it's 2,100 for the with the line kit and everything.
mm,
All the fittings and lines and adapters. Uh,
mm.
24.95 for with blow off valves.
Okay, okay. Now, shout out to David. David said anything for the VQ. Remember, you know your VQ life, but anything you want to quickly share that you still produce for the VQ life?
Yeah, so we will be selling the GTR intake conversions for the VQ. We also do the closed deck blocks. And we also
Oh, wait. Gotta throw those prices out there. The closed deck blocks for VQs. What are the pricing?
uh, I think what we've done on those has come down. I think they're I'm trying to remember how much we were doing those for. I think we're down to 14.95 on those.
Okay.
But that's also, you'll have a $350 core charge on that. So if you decide, hey, I'll just pay 350 extra dollars, then that'll cover the full amount. So
Okay, okay, okay. So, but you're not making any crazy amount of parts of VQ because VQ's been living its life for the last 15, 20 years now.
yeah, so I worked with RJ Manufacturing, helping design their parts for quite a while, and they've been absolutely awesome. But yeah, it's one of those things that we don't see many VQ customers nowadays. we're more focused on the VR and the future state with the new Z. So.
All right. Okay. Now, so now that we went through the cooling, you guys ain't making no exhaust or anything like that.
Nope.
Talk about pretty much anything that just makes the car more consistent. Now let's move on to the turbos because we're 25 minutes in.
Yeah.
So if you guys don't already know, about a year ago or a year and a half ago, Mike started developing a pretty much big turbo kit for the VR Community Q50, Q60. But because of supply chain issues, because of the market, pretty much we've been going through, it has been delayed. He's been going through it. I've talked to him behind the scenes. He's been punching the air. But finally we're here and the day is finally coming. So share your information from what you know. You've been around this community for a while. Tell us about your big turbo kit for the Q50, Q60, VR30, and future Nissan Z.
Yeah. So one of the things that we actually pride ourselves in is this is a stock location. No other manufacturer out there, kit maker, has made a stock location turbo. Everyone is more of a rear mid-mount location that's further back. That presents several problems when it comes to your electronic wastegate actuators, your downpipes. Things become a little bit more difficult to make. You start getting more restrictions and things of that nature. So one of the things that we've done is we've maximized the utilization of the space that we have. So one of the things we've done is we've basically sunken the turbos towards the motor and pulled them slightly back to where we can actually utilize our new lines. Our new oil lines are basically modified factory lines for your turbo oil lines. So you can actually reuse those in the factory location. So everything matches up, all your current lines, everything match up to the factory locations using the factory ports. Your factory and cooling system stays the same, no major changes there. The only change that we do is we actually change out the engine brackets so that we can actually get intakes in. That's the main thing. Where we're sitting the turbos are so close into the engine to give us the room on the outside, and to be able to fit a 660 in there with plenty of room, as well as the actual wastegate actuator in the correct location so you can still use the factory harness. We have to redo those brackets, but we've made them really with laser CNC cut machines, and then CNC press brakes. So everything is right on the money, precision parts, high quality.
Pretty much OEM fitment, basically.
Very much OEM fitment with higher quality parts.
This is freaking great. So people hear big turbos, but what is the projection on power with either? Of course, we already know where the stock motor would be, but with built motor, what do you project that this big turbo kit will lead people?
We've already seen with just a regular tubular manifold what a 550 can do on the market. Tennis Motorsports has done a really great job.
On their
G25 550. I believe they're in the mid 900s right now.
That's like from a year and a half ago too.
Yeah. So they've been doing really good. I remember talking with Hussein while he was tuning and helping through some of those tuning hiccups that they had. Big shout out to Hussein. He's freaking phenomenal.
Yes.
For those who don't know, that's Racebox. He is a great tuner. And I know we had some conversations and what expectations should be from those turbos. So we know kind of where the limit is on the 550s. We've kind of set our two goals. One, our 550 kit is going to be called the 800R kit. And our 660 is going to be called the 1000R kit, because that's what we believe that those turbos will be able to make on a consistent basis, with normal ready to go fuel, whether that's pump E85 with a mixture of regular pump gas, so kind of a hybrid setup, or if you throw some methanol into it, that's something you can do as well. But outside of race gas, we think it easily do 800 wheel horsepower, not a problem, and even into the nines. And then with the 660s, we know those things are rated to about 1200. So we're saying, hey, you know what, we're going to err on the side of safety and say, 1000 should be pretty.
But there's way more in it, but we just don't know if the chassis could take it, to be honest, at that
really
point.
the drivetrain. Can the drivetrain hold together long enough for that?
Transmission. Yeah. Unless you go manual.
Well, we do have a car that is has a fully built motor, fully built heads, and a manual transmission, and a Q60, and rear-wheel drive.
Is that Concept Z's Q60? That's not that car, right? I wonder what ever happened to that car. But anyways, before I put up this comment on here, what
Yeah.
is the price point for this turbo kit?
So people are pretty shocked by it. The full kit is $12,495, and a lot of people have kind of jumped back on that and said, "Whoa, that's a lot of money." But when you start looking at what the cost of the actual turbos are,
Mm-hmm.
almost $6,000 for actual legitimate Garrett turbos.
Mm-hmm. So that's what brings it, and also you're paying for the fitment.
Yeah, I
You're
mean,
literally paying for the
literally,
fitment.
so like I said, offline, we're actually going right now through our install manual and building that out with the customer's car right now, and ensuring everything is perfect before we actually release the production kit. So as we're going through that right now and doing the writing the instructions, everything, it is literally easier than doing a factory turbo install. So if
Hmm.
you were to pull your factory turbos off and put new factory ones on, it's easier than that. So, like,
Hopefully, it's pictures.
the shop is
I love
super
pictures.
excited. Shop I'm working with is super excited. That's GMG Performance here in Buford, Georgia. They are super stoked about it. They're actually going to be our first certified installer for this.
Pretty
Uh,
dope.
we are actually going to push people to actually go to shops to have this installed. There are some regulations in regards to EPA
Mm.
as far as the refrigerant that's in your AC system.
Mhm.
If you were to go to a dealer, go do any kind of turbo upgrades, you have to drop your motor. You have to purge. You have to purge that system and reclaim those refrigerants,
Yes.
splits, and then be able to put it back in the system, back in the
Mm.
car. So, regardless, we don't condone dropping it yourself and purging that stuff out into the atmosphere.
Mm.
EPA, just so you
Yes.
know.
We don't wanna kill the earth.
Yeah. Uh,
Now, I'm gonna put up this, question. Shout out to Josh. So, you do have a competitor out here. Shout out to, Bonnie and Clyde Racing. Is this turbo kit similar to the big boys you can get from Bonnie and Clyde Racing?
All right. So this is going to get to a controversial subject
Okay.
of Chinese turbos, knockoff turbos versus actual Garrett's. There's a reason why there's only cost $400 to $500 when you start looking at the technology that's put into a turbine wheel, the materials it's made out of, whether it's friction welded or electron welded. Uh, so when you start looking at as far as the materials for the ceramic and the bearings that are used there, there's a huge difference. It's one of those things of like, do you get a Yugo or do you get a Formula One car?
Mm.
As far as the
That's a
quality of
big
material.
difference. Wow. Ouch.
So, and I'm not nothing against Bonnie and Clyde. I'm just saying, in regards to the Chinese turbos, there's several videos online that you can actually get comparisons of a major manufacturer. I think it's called
Mm.
Bushy Wheel, and there's like I think it's like Turbo Direct out of Australia has actually done balance tests on a Chinese G25 660 cartridge, did a balance and showed how out of spec it was to a factory G25 turbine.
Mm.
And so he actually had to go back and actually machine on that turbine and start doing the balancing to get it to work within spec. Now, here's the thing that people don't understand. If that is out of spec, that leads to premature bearing wear. That's where you start hearing those horror stories of Chinese turbos just blowing up out of nowhere. And if it blows up and it throws all that stuff into your oil system, into your coolant system, which goes right into your engine, it will destroy your engine. It'll contaminate the engine. You'll have to replace the motor.
Okay.
So when you start looking at, hey, is it worth the investment? I say yes. Buy the real deal and not worry about, is this thing going to blow up in 6 months, 3 months,
Mhm.
the first time we dyno it and run for big numbers? There's also things about burst control. Most people don't understand this, but the Garrett housings are certified for burst control. Basically, what happens is if you get a burst in that compressor housing or in that turbine housing, it won't explode and kill you.
Yeah. Ooh,
That's
I've seen someone die by a dyno on video. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's one of the things where the Chinese turbos have actually are on a lighter material, a lighter casting. Now they look good, but they're a much not as superior of a quality material for that. So you run the risk of a safety risk there. To me, it's a liability issue, and
Mm,
one of the things that I've seen from their posts is they've already welded onto the housings, and so at that point, that manufacturer is not going to warranty anything because they've already modified the turbos. So you start looking at it from a perspective of a consumer. You've modified the turbo. The manufacturer's not going to warranty it. So that leaves it up to Bonnie and Clyde to actually
mm,
warranty your turbo and own the liability there.
okay.
How long have they been around? Are they going to warranty those things? Are they going to try to push it off on someone else did something, pointing fingers? We don't know.
Okay. And
Yep.
that's why I would say, some companies build it as they fly. First thing, once again, this isn't any like hateful post towards Bonnie and Clyde. I think both of these companies are doing great good. Shout out to Bonnie and Clyde, man. They're filling in a part of the market that people just haven't filled in. So, but I like when there's options out there, and Bonnie has Clyde have already stated that yes, this will be their cost efficient one, but they are working to get more expensive and or quality turbos themselves too, but it will cost you guys more money. So it all depends
And
on pretty
you'll be
much
at
the
the same price
market.
we are once you throw in quality turbos. So
Price
it,
jumps a lot.
yeah.
Now I do want to throw a couple other questions in here quickly. I think it was kind of related to what we were talking about.
Mhm.
Um, can the motor take that much power
So
for the
one of the
550?
Yeah, so one of the things that we try to do is we look at what breaks a motor. It's usually torque. It's
Torque.
usually the number you're looking at to what breaks a motor. Same for a transmission. And so what we've seen is around that 570, 600 foot-pounds of torque tends to break it. It's also where is that power being delivered? Where is that
Mm,
torque actually coming in? The nice thing about going with these bigger turbos is it actually pushes that torque out. So it's a little bit further into the mid range. You're not getting it right off the brake. So it's a lot easier actually on the components of the engine. So it's yet to be seen how far we can take a stock one. We do have a stock motor car and a stock transmission car that we have this kit on, a 550, and we're going to let everyone see what a stock motor car can do, a stock
do.
transmission
And
car.
we're gonna find out what the real ceiling is of the VR30.
Yeah.
Also, the question is, he said, Marcus says, is this a cost just in parts? Yes. That's the short answer. Price difference
I would
each
expect about
brand.
hours of
This Jacob asks, what is the price difference of each brand? I'm assuming between the 550s and 660s. I don't think you said the price difference
there's
between.
no there's about probably going to be about a $500 price difference between the 550s and 660s just because that's the price difference between the turbos.
Mhm.
So it's somewhere going to be around that. Right now we've just started the kits at 5
And
for
that's the 550s.
now you get two options for ARs on that, so you can get a 72 or
Oh
a 90.
shit. Oh, that's fucking great.
So if you want to kind of be like, hey, I'm not too worried about, I kind of want to be on the higher end side. I want to make that, higher end number similar to like the Timus car. Then we're going to push you to the 92.
Mhm.
And then if you're like, hey, I got a stock motor, stock car, I want to get into the big frame turbo game, we're going to push you to the 72 and let you kind of, the nice thing about this is, it's easier on the car with the bigger turbos. You do get a little bit of more lag,
Mhm.
but it is easier on the car. And it's something that, you'll be able to grow into
Okay.
rather than hey, I got to replace a bunch of parts and build everything out. It's you know you don't have to worry about any like overspun turbos being blown because they're being overspun 300,000 RPM. So
Okay. All right. So Marcus also asked, which kind of deals with the turbo kit, are Garrett's made in US?
yes, they are made in the U.S. They also have some factories in Taiwan as well as in Mexico, depending on where they're getting their forgings from. I used to work for Honeywell. And so, kind of getting a little insight onto the manufacturing process. They are not made in China. No way, no how. Honeywell has a really big disdain for the Chinese copying.
Okay, cool. So there's gonna be these other questions are gonna be kind of a little bit off the turbo kits. So we kind of moving off the turbo kits, guys. So shout out to Phil. He asks, why has no one used NOS on the VR30? In your experience, you've been around this community for a while too.
Um, we actually have done a few people with our direct port injection or meth injection with nitrous oxide. Really, it's just not that many people use nitrous oxide on this platform. I've only done probably like 3 or 4 guys selling them the parts to be able to do it. But it really, it's a high compression motor,
And it's expensive too to run a 75 shot, because you would want to run that wet shot, correct? You wouldn't want to do that dry.
Yeah, it would be a wet shot for sure.
Yeah, it's a lot of money just to do that.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, you're also looking at that's six nozzles, so it's really like, are you doing like 25 shot per cylinder?
Okay. That's a good answer. So now I want everyone to ask me, because I said not a lot of people really usually do it. All right,
Yeah,
next question will be, ask what it takes to manual swap these VR30s from your
that's
experience.
something so you're gonna have to have a different bell. I believe it's a similar bell housing as the factory one. I would have to leave that up to like the guys over at Turbo Toys down in Tampa. They're the ones that have done it. If you're looking to do a manual swap and you want to do a manual swap, I believe you can do it. There's some guys that have done it in the 370Zs of swapping the VR30s into the 370s. So there may be, I believe on Facebook, I think there's a VR30 swap group that you can actually jump in and ask that question specifically, and people with experience with doing the swaps for manual transmissions and stuff should be able to help you.
All right. So I think that was some of the questions that people just remember. Just bear with me. Bear with me. I do have Bonnie and Clyde in the chat, but I don't want to really, get into that right now. But shout out to Bonnie and Clyde that's in the chat watching. Don't you guys gonna get your chance too? Don't worry, I'm gonna continue to showcase all the companies that's within the VR30 Infinity and Q50 community. So much love to you guys. All right, now I think we covered the majority of the parts that you already have released for this community. We've talked about turbo kits. We talk about transmission mounts, heat exchangers, water to air to intercooler kits, injectors. So
Mm-hmm.
was there anything else that we think we might have missed?
No, I think that's pretty much a majority of the products that we offer currently. Just going kind of a little bit more into the turbo kit stuff, we do have some things that we're actually super excited about. So one of the things is, a lot of the parts that we make on our kit, we make in house. So not parts that you can buy off the shelf. So everything that's like, for instance, our turbo manifolds, 5-axis CNC with a billet steel. So our linkage for our wastegate actuator is all stainless steel. So every little piece of that thing is stainless steel. Even the clips that we use are all stainless steel. So every piece of that, the adapters, all that sort of stuff, stainless steel, so that you will have longevity out of that piece. The nice thing about it is we retain the factory style location for it, so that you actually get rid of that wastegate rattle, and we have more adjustability than the factory one. So nice thing, we'll be able to pull that wastegate completely shut, put tension on it, and then we can do a wastegate relearn or a wastegate actuator relearn, and at that point you'll get accurate 1-to-1 ratio between the actuator movement to that wastegate flap movement.
Okay. This is super dope, man. Super dope. All right. So this is where we're moving now to the part of this whole studio session where you guys get to ask direct questions to Mike from Dropper LLC. Remember, he has a lot of knowledge in the VQ community and VR. So I will be going through some of the comments, because we probably will be typing out in the next 15 minutes or less. So guys, write down some comments right now. And if you already haven't hit the like button, what's up? Like, come on, guys, hit the like button, man. I got I got much love and family on here. But anyways, one of the first questions was Joe. He asks, have you done any flow testing on the stock intake manifold versus GTR? What is the horsepower flow restrictions for the stock air intake system? And before you answer, yes, I really love this question because I know you guys bench test these intake manifolds just to see if they flow properly. And the stock VR30 intake manifold looks like complete utter trash. They were just trying to fit something under the hood.
I would
So, your
say
response?
complete trash, because what we're looking at is volumetric efficiency of that intake manifold. And what most people see is they see the throttle bodies come in and then it gets narrow and it does that 180. What they don't see is that on the inside, the height of that volume changes. And so basically what they're doing is they're playing with pressure waves to actually get it to speed up and slow down coming into the runners. So they get the speed up coming around that corner, and then they open it up so wide so that it slows down, so that the runner, it doesn't overpower the runners. So you don't miss those last two cylinders.
The farthest one from the throttle bodies.
Yeah, the cylinders, I think it's 5
1
and
and 4.
so you don't miss those, so you don't overshoot them with the velocity of the air. As far as testing goes, right now we're working with RJ Manufacturing, awesome guys. We're waiting to actually get the first prototype cut for the lower intake plenum, and then we're going to start doing flow testing to compare the stocks upper and lower to the GTR upper and lower. That's one thing that we've kind of been pushing to say, hey, let's do more testing on this before we bring it to market, just so that we can validate, hey, yeah, this is actually a true benefit. It was one thing that we had an issue with on the VQ platform. Is a lot of people were like, hey, I didn't really gain any power. I gained mid-range and bottom end with the GTR intake plenum, but I lost on the top. And what we found was that a lot of people didn't, on the tuning side, didn't address the volumetric efficiency tables, which caused a power dip at around 6,800 RPMs. So, that's something where we had to work with tuners to be able to resolve that issue. We'll probably work into the same issue here. Once you change that volume of that upper intake plenum, you have to make sure that you're keeping velocity in check, and making sure that you're getting the proper CFM. We believe you'll get way more CFM, but it's really coming down to the velocity of the air that's coming through those runners.
Oof, man, this is a lot when it comes to engineering and testing.
It takes a while for us to actually get a
Man,
product out.
R&D is when people think that GTR intake manifold, it just looks amazing. It has to work. It has to work. Then if not, it's just a coaster on your table. The next question, shout out to Bonnie, right? Wait, I don't know if this is a question necessarily, but I want to shout them out for this. We want to see VR30 heads for the VR30. Let's get rid of the single port head.
Yeah, it's not going to work. Two completely different head designs. The domes aren't made for direct injection on the VR38 head. The cooling channels aren't the same. The cam shafts aren't the same, as far as the cam gears and what they're actually running for. So there's too much differences between the VR38 and the VR30 to do a head swap. So it may figure out how to do it at some point in time, but as of right now, it's not something that we would recommend.
Okay, shout out to Bonnie and Clyde. That was actually a really good statement. Much appreciated for you guys. But I do want to throw this out here, though, to defend Bonnie and Clyde. In this community, other companies said air to air is trash. We shouldn't do air to air. And then, boom, we're seeing results from them and VPF tuning. We seem like there is a gain there. So, it's one of those things to say, we don't see it's worth it. But someone has to test the waters just to see if it works. But once again, shout out to Bonnie and Clyde for that question. Shout out to Josh for the super sticker. I really appreciate you donating to the channel. Much love. I appreciate you. Now, Marcus. Marcus says, final question. My car is built on pure turbos with AMS, injector, high pressure fuel pump, low pressure fuel pump, and full catalyst downpipes. Please let me know what I need to run your kit and who you recommend to install.
All right. So as far as you have everything you need pretty much to run our kit. The only thing that we'll be replacing is the downpipes. Now, I know I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for this, but our kit will not come with catless downpipes. If you want catless downpipes and you have a race car, then you need to go with our tuner kit. That's going to be less than 10 grand. That'll allow you to build whatever. You can modify your AMS catless downpipes if that's what you want to do. We're really close to where the factory V-band flange is. We're about 5 degrees off. So it requires a little bit of a change in angle, especially on the driver's side, in order to clear around the AC compressor. The passenger side's really, really close, though. So we offer ours with catted downpipes. Now, we're also offering really high-end cats. We're offering the same catalytic converters that run on underground racing Lamborghinis, as well as AMS catted downpipes. We're running Gezi, G Sport, UHO, and UHO Plus. And depending on if it comes down to a cost issue, then we'll probably do the HO. But we're trying to ensure that we're utilizing EPA certified.
What's the cell count? Sorry, what's the cell count?
Yeah,
I've heard the cell count changed like almost 400 now.
It's either 400 or 500 on the cell count.
500? Oh God, it'll flow better than stock anything, but Jesus.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's these are going on cars that usually make 12, 13.
Yeah, they'll flow that amount anyway.
Power. Yeah, so like it's not going to be a restriction issue for anyone in any way, shape, or form. The main thing is we're looking to potentially take this to CARB certification, and so in order to do that, we can't offer it in a catless option. So
even with his AMS injectors, you're saying that you can still run your kit. You don't need to go with another injector.
Yeah, you don't need to. I would love to upsell and say, hey, come get ours.
But AMS will be perfectly fine.
It'll be perfectly fine. It just depends on what your power goals are. I mean, honestly, I spend more time talking with customers just to understand what they want to do, what their builds are, and what they want out of a car. Because to me, I'd rather help people be successful in what they want than to sell them a product.
Okay. Just in case Jacob missed it a little earlier, just for anyone who's watching again, what's the price kit? Because you did just say you can get the basic kit for under 10 G's, but first you did say like 12. So
yeah,
just say that, elaborate one more time. So basic tuner kit just walked into the door.
So I'll lay it out real simple. So
okay.
Off with the tuner kit that does not come with intakes or downpipes. It does come with turbos. We may offer an option without turbos, but again, that's probably going to come later. This kit with turbos is going to run $9,995. Mainly the reason for this is we want people to have the option to be able to choose what they want for intakes. If they want to run air to air, if they want to run long arm intakes, or if they want to run catless in a race scenario. Or off-road scenario, we want to give them that option at a more budget-conscious point. The full kit, with everything that would be considered with catted downpipes, full intakes, 3-inch intakes, everything that you need, all the turbos, everything, is running $12,495. So yeah, so it is quite a price jump. But once people realize that the cats alone are like $800 or more, just for cat, including putting them on downpipes, then you kind of understand, okay, you're buying a quality product.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna switch up a little bit here. So it's kind of more for the basic question. What do you think is a mandatory product of yours that every VR30 owner should have? Shad, that's a good question.
That's a good question. That's actually a tough one to say. I would say the injectors for sure.
Everyone?
Yeah.
Every VR30.
Yeah. You can always use more fuel. Everyone's always throwing.
Even if I'm on 91 stock turbo?
Oh yeah. Okay,
you would say that over your heat exchanger?
Well, I mean, the heat exchanger is going to be. It's good mod. It's a supporting mod, but it's not going to gain you the power that people want.
Okay.
People are usually wanting, I want to make extra 50 horsepower, or I want extra 30 horsepower, or whatever. They want to get as much as they can out of their car without having to spend a ton of money. So when you start looking for your best bang for your buck, I would say injectors and fuel pump, high pressure fuel pump, are going to be the first mods I would tell anyone to do before jumping into anything else.
Okay, because I remember seeing the dynos where people have went with upgraded injectors, and just on their similar setup, they gain power. I guess that just those injectors just flow a lot properly, just do what they're supposed to do.
Well, you're adding capacity. This goes back to what we were talking about earlier of more air, more fuel, colder air, and as you bring it together, the engine's able to work easier and make more power.
Okay. All right, let me see. Oh, this was a random question because I've been asked this and I said, I don't know anything. Joe says, have you looked into camshafts for the VR30 platform?
Yeah. So the car that we have, that's the race car, has our prototype camshafts in it. So we're waiting for that one to go with the big turbo kit. After that, we'll probably be looking at trying to put it into kind of a more stock like card to see if it is actually a benefit. But right now, one of the things we're actually looking at is increasing the load duration for the high pressure fuel pump to see if we can actually get more fuel out of fuel pumps. So what most people don't understand is the fuel pumps are camshaft driven on the high pressure side. So if you're able to increase the capacity or the load on the camshaft, you can potentially get a little bit more fuel out of your existing fuel pump.
Yeah, but I don't think anybody wants to hear that chop. You would have to go like a more mild cam, right? I would assume.
So you have
the duration.
Have a certain segment on the cam that's specifically for the high pressure fuel pump. We do have a 10% over for both duration as well as lift for our current cams. But it's not available yet.
No, this is some whole part that was completely new to me right now. I didn't even know. That'd be super dope.
Yeah,
that would be super cool. Like I didn't even know that part actually really existed because, like you just said, there's a certain duration on the camshaft because, of course, at lower RPM, you can't get enough on this. That's the reason why you guys have to get an upgraded high pressure fuel pump because the stock one just doesn't suffice based on how the car said. You need the car to rev higher to really build that pressure, I would assume, right?
You get to points of efficiency within the pump, and you also get points of cavitation on the pump too. So that's one of the things that where a lot of our pumps really work well is high pressure efficiencies. You'll find that other pumps in the market, once they get to about 190 something thousand PSI, they start to fall flat on their face. Ours have already been tested up to 220 PSI and still maintained pressure up to that point. So.
Okay. Now, let me just see if there's any questions here. Not saying that you guys' questions aren't relevant. Marcus is one of my loyal subscribers. And much love to Marcus. So, what's my budget to switch from pure turbos? Because he did ask a little earlier, but he did answer that, Marcus. Technically, how much you'll be spending for the bare basic kit under $10,000. But he did say this: looking for a reliable 10.5 car and quarter-mile daily driver. What do you think about that, Mike?
Oh, 550 kit, all day.
E85 or 93? Which one? This is my question.
I think you lost you.
What do you think?
Yeah, so you can run E85 on that 550, but you'll have the ability to grow into it and make more power over time without having to drop it again and again for reliability issues. Again, you're going to be pushing those pures pretty hard. If it's runs really hard, stage twos.
He's in southern Florida too.
Yeah. So a 550 kit is going to be right up your alley for that. You could probably sell your stage twos for pretty good money.
And give some of the money back. Yeah.
Pay for it. We are kind of looking into some payment options for people just to make it a little bit easier for to be able to get into it. But right now, I mean, we looked at like a Firm, Klarna, and a few others, and they're only like 4 months. And I'm like, or 4 payments. And I'm like, people aren't going to be able to technically.
That's like 2 G's a month, man. That's every month. A lot at the wall. Jacob says on pures, you should be close to that number. I think that question was for someone else. So okay, these questions are mainly for other people. No, not visions. Give me a second.
Yeah.
Oh man, shout out to Vale. So I know you might be. I don't know if you be on IG enough, but shout out to the No Hezzy B58 crew. But his question was, can you build a Q50 to beat No Hezzy on the streets, please? So basically, this is street racing talking. Shout out to the
Yeah.
whole B58 crew. But up here in New York City, the No Hezzy B58 he's eating them. There's nines on the street, like completely.
I,
So do you think with this kit on the 85, you can run nines on street?
yeah, I think it's possible with the right suspension setup, the right tires. What most people don't understand is that it's not just power. It's all about your suspension. It's all about your tires. It's, can you get the power to the ground? Can you sustain that power to the ground? And how light is that car?
That's the part. This car wasn't built for this type of power delivery. People don't understand. I've learned that just by running coilovers and running 93 fuel, I can't have that suspension too stiff in the back. It needs to sit and load up. That's it. I've learned
Yeah.
that already just doing my little street bullshit. So yeah, man. So yeah, you can have a 9-second car in the street, but you're gonna have to set it up for it to launch properly and then stick and hook.
The new Z might be able to do it.
Yes, we gotta wait and see.
Anything like my car, my Z, with the right suspension on it, I can make that rear end squat and stay squatted the whole time.
Okay, cool. So we're gonna wrap up real soon, guys. For the next 5 minutes. So if you guys got any questions, throw it at the wall. But I just want to answer this last couple ones. David said, I must have missed the company's name, but what's the name of it? It is Drop Bear LLC. It's gonna be in the title of this video. I'm gonna put it in the bio after. I'm gonna put up his Facebook too. It seems like it's way better to contact you on Facebook, right? Or is your site up and running yet?
I was actually working on it when you called me earlier. So
All right, so guys, his site is going to be up and running in the next couple of days. Give him some time,
it.
but I'm going to put the Facebook link up and his IG too, so you guys can be able to contact him. Troy said, "Is the B58, in your experience, we around the community, is the B58 more reliable than the VR30?"
I think they both have a unique set of issues and problems they have to deal with. I wouldn't necessarily say one is more reliable than the other. I just think one is a V and one is an inline. Inlines typically are a little bit more reliable, but at the same time, depending on what parts are used in them, you've probably heard the arguments between RB26s and 2Js.
Yes.
2Js are bulletproof to 1,000 horsepower. RBs can't make 600 before blowing up. So, it's just one of those things. When you start looking at it, it just depends on the parts and how it's designed. Each car has its pros and cons. Each motor has its pros and cons. So,
okay, I think this is a very fair question before we tap out. Kay says, so question, have these kits been tested?
yeah.
Fair question.
Yeah, so our stuff's already been tested. So, like I was mentioning earlier, we're actually installing the first production kit onto a customer car this last week and this week. But we're actually writing our install manual as part of this install process, and we're also doing marketing materials. So we're hoping to have that thing up. And again, this is a stock car, stock transmission, stock motor. It will have all the supporting mods from us, from heat exchanger to intercooler to fueling system. But it will pretty much be a stock motor, stock trans, what you can make out of this. So everything that we've already done has been on built motors and built setups. So we want to actually do something that everyone can relate to and everyone can have as a baseline.
Yeah, if you guys don't already know, there's a couple of cars with this kit on it already. I believe that blue Q60 in Texas has
Yeah,
that one.
yeah,
Been on for like almost 2 years now. Been running, but you got to keep things in the wraps, keep it quiet. So product has been tested, so that's super dope. If you guys don't have any more questions, we are about to tap out next 1 minute and 60 seconds. That's actually 2 minutes. Make a video on the install. I mean, I don't know if I could make the video, but if Mike wants to, he can definitely do that too. But it seems like he's really trying to make the kit to the point that you guys is dummy proof. Follow the pictures, follow the words, get it done. And I think that's a very good thing to do. That's good that company.
Follow a field service manual for the install for a factory turbo replacement, you can do this kit. It's that easy.
K Bands did say this one question. So they've been out for a minute. If data and everything is there, I can't wait to see how it is. Okay. Marcus, because then Marcus love to ask these questions. Much love, brother. What about increasing the size of the motor from a 3.0 to a 3.4 or 4.0? Well, it depends on how the motor's designed. You can't really come from a 3.0 to 4.0. It depends on how much meat. That's just me just knowing stuff. But go ahead.
Yeah, so I have a lot of experience of going in bigger displacement on VQs. So I went from a 3.7 to a 4.5. It made so much torque bottom end, and these cars on the VRs make so much torque on the bottom end that it became unruly off the line, and even all the way to fourth gear. It would literally spin the tires all the way through fourth gear when you start looking at bigger power. All you're going to gain out of going to a 3.4 or 4.0, if it was physically possible, is that you would get, sorry, my monitor shut off.
Don't worry about it.
You would just gain so much torque in the low end and mid range that you'll start breaking parts and you just won't get traction. So you just make a burnout machine.
Okay. See, that's actually a really good question. Really appreciate that. Man, you guys must be tapping in so late, man. Listen, man, I know when I come live, you guys want to ask all these questions. Oh, I'm sorry, Mike. Bear with me, man. I have a question. I am interested in reigniting the GTM twin supercharger kit. What is the advantage of a twin supercharger as opposed to a single supercharger?
All right. So I was pretty close to that project. My car originally was sponsored by GTM. While it's a unique concept, it ate belts alive. And the thing that was great about it was that you were getting double the CFM that you would get from a single supercharger. So you're able to get more air, and it acted more like a twin turbo setup. But really, the complexity, it just wasn't worth it.
It's overkill. It's overkill.
No, I know a couple people that own the twin supercharger kits, and they aren't able to get the same power that you were able to get with a twin turbo kit. So, I mean, for the cost that you're going to
put, because of parasitic drain, how much like it takes,
because of the parasitic losses associated to it, that were required to drive those superchargers, you just weren't able to get the power that you really wanted to get out of it. Even though great concept and idea, like it was a cool way that they actually pulled that all together.
Yeah.
And I know one of the designers on that. Yeah, just I wouldn't do it. Just save your money.
Save your money. Save your money. That's good. All right, guys. So we're gonna tap out. Much love and appreciate all you guys for watching and hanging out with me and Mike from Drop LLC talking about these big turbo kits for the VR30 and just talking about any VQ or Infinity Life jargon. I'm gonna put in the bio below all his links to any social medias and or his Facebook so you can contact him at his company. And yeah, his turbo kit is out and will be out running on a stock motor in the next couple weeks. The information and data will be there because we don't just, talk shit over here. We actually get things done. So outside of that, Mike, drop anything you want to just add in as a last statement, and you already know the deal.
Yep. You can visit us on Facebook, Drop Bear LLC. We are working on our website. Like I said, I was working on it tonight. So that should be up and running hopefully soon. You'll be able to purchase the twin turbo kit as well as any of our other products that are in stock from the website eventually. But as of right now, go ahead and message us on Facebook. You can reach us at dropbearllc@gmail.com. Or you can call us from our number. And we'll be able to help you with any kind of invoicing if you want to get something, or if you just got questions in general and want to know, hey, what some of these questions here. We're here to help you guys. So we're all about the community.
I love this. Outside of guys, you have a good morning, good afternoon, good night. Hit me up. Boosting Motion is back. Give me a couple of weeks. They're bring the Boost series is really a thing, and we will have other companies, other YouTubers. People know who I've hit up. I ain't forget about you guys. It's just, I've been sick. I've been going through a lot of stuff. All right, just bear with me. But outside of guys, you have a good morning, good afternoon, good night. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. You guys have a good day. Thank you, Mike, for coming in, joining part of the team, and giving all this great information to the Boosting Motion family. Thank you, brother.
Awesome.